You're listening to CX Passport, the show about creating great customer experiences with a dash of travel talk. Each episode, we'll talk with our guests about great CX, travel, and just like the best journeys, explore new directions we never anticipated. I'm your host, Rick Denton. I believe the best meals are served outside and require a passport. Let's get going. CX Passport guests typically come at the recommendation of former guests. In what has to be one of the most CX Passport-y introduction and guest scheduling threads, today's guest, Fred Shadding, was introduced to me by a former episode guest from South Africa, Clinton Cohen, way back in episode 28. And then Fred and I had to wait for the chance to record this episode until after Fred finished a fantastic trip to Morocco. The heart of CX Passport comes from a global perspective on customer experience, and we will have that for sure today. Fred is the founder and chief advisor for the Call Center Source, dedicated to advising brands on their ideal contact center options, with a focus on partnering brands and BPOs into a mutually beneficial relationship. It's not my way of thinking, but we know there's a train of thought out there that there's a risk of a degradation in customer experience when a company chooses to outsource. When I talked with Fred, he reinforced my view that in so many cases, there's a great opportunity to improve a brand's customer service experience by choosing an excellent BPO partner. Additionally, Fred and I got to talking about something near and dear to my heart, the importance of the front line. It's so rewarding when I get to have a guest who demonstrates the awareness of the value of the front line and how they are the epicenter of where customer experience gets created, especially in a contact center environment. It did not pain me one bit to wait to record Fred once I heard why there'd be a delay between our meeting and his availability. Morocco? Heck yeah, I want to hear about that, and I'm sure listeners, you do too. Fred, welcome to CX Passport.
Hey, thanks for having me, Rick. Should be fun.
I'm looking forward to it. And, you know, I'm already itching to get to Morocco, but we got to talk business first. We got to talk about customer experience. We got to talk BPO. And in a way, you're the BPO whisperer. Tell me what that means to you. Why are BPOs potentially the right solution for a brand to improve their customer service experience?
I work with BPOs, on a constant basis. And my goal really is to understand, what their strengths and weaknesses are. Rick, there are like 1,000 BPOs worldwide, and it's just impossible to get through that noise and understand, who's who and what's what. And that's really what we do here at the Call Center Sources to help companies get through that noise so they can make good decisions and give them that operational agility that they can get from a BPO.
What that noise is something that's coming to mind there. And is the noise primarily just the sheer volume that if I'm a brand, let's say I'm a mid-sized brand, maybe even a larger brand, right? And I decide that I think I want to do this. What is that noise that I'm trying to wade through, and how do you help me get through that?
Yes, we can do it. Yes, we have the capabilities. Yes, we can save you cost. That's not a comment that is void at any BPO, and they all kind of say similar things.
Yeah.
But which one is right for you? To give you some examples, there are companies that on the enterprise level, want to work with folks that have enterprise strengths. So you're going to look for those type of BPOs that have the ability to work with scale, hundreds of thousands of seats, and they're out there. Then there are those organizations that are looking for someone to help me with my seasonality, that comes and goes. So you're going to look for those that have scalability, but flexibility to come on and off, volumes. And then there's those that are going to be focused on a specific niche, like a certain area category, like healthcare, insurance, or financial services. It may have a steady state number, maybe 50, 60, 100 agents year round, but a specific focus on like agent licensing, or it could be a certain healthcare niche that they need to make sure that the BPO has a strength in. And they're going to look for that. So it's about making sure that, number one, the thing that I do most is listen to what the client is looking for, then certainly identify those BPO partners that fit the approach that they're looking for. Some may be looking for cost reduction, so they may be looking to go nearshore, offshore. Some may be looking for, scale. Some may be looking for a number of things. And so all those things coming together makes sense for the game plan in which we approach these endeavors with the referrals.
You said something there that reminded me of, and well, actually, before I even say that, this idea of matching, and I think it's the matchmaker. Heck, there's a particular show that's getting some traction on Netflix right now that refers to relationship matchmaking, but no plugs for them. But anyway, those that know will certainly know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But that idea of even getting down to industry specific matches. There was a former guest, Jose Herrera, who episode 77, I think it was, so relatively recently. And he actually tries to have his employees of the BPO matched to brands that they enjoy. So if they are really into pets, then they're going to try to work for a pet supply company or something along those lines. So you can get to that sort of niche where you're even dealing with employees at the BPO that are attracted to what your brand is.
It's like a real estate agent. I parallel what I do like that. You might be looking for a house with 3,000 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, 2-car garage at a certain price in a certain location. You can go to the internet, press your luck there. Maybe you can find something, or you can find someone who can give you a bit more of a strategic approach and identify maybe 5 houses to start with and then go from there. Very similar to what I do.
Yeah.
I listen to clients, understand what they need, put out there, a noiseless list of initial BPOs, to start with based on what they're looking for. And then we go.
I like that. The noiseless list. If it were easier to say, I might make that the title of the episode, but I don't think I can go that route. So let's talk about BPOs and customer experience in general. So I'd mentioned it in the intro, but there is that perception. And I realize it's ebbed and flowed over time, but that perception that a BPO going that direction could lessen the customer experience. So how do you help companies that are considering this option overcome that perception that a BPO is going to deliver a lesser customer service experience than what that brand could offer themselves?
I mean, it's very real. So I don't dissuade the argument. It's real. But most companies know what they know, within their own internal tribal knowledge, that sometimes can obscure the opportunities that they may have for enhancement. What I try to do is teach them to kind of understand and accept that there is power in experience. When you're dealing with a BPO partner, typically you are not the only client, meaning they have worked for years and may currently be working with similar clients with similar challenges, with similar perceptions on the front end that said that our internal agents, are going to be better than yours just because, they carry our flag. And that experience that they have had has in many cases turned upside down some of the client experiences, that they actually deliver upon, because once they realize that the BPO in many cases has better training, better technology, better facilities, a better, touch with people like you, that understand, the value of customer experience, the value of voice of customer, and deliver upon that every day, then they can really interpret what potentially working with the BPO can do for them. So I try to work with them to help them understand that the BPO is going to give them that agility. Whereas if you kept it in house, come peak season, you have to do your own internal recruiting and things like that. And, all that other stuff that comes with it. You have to be responsible for your own technology upgrades. You have to know what the latest and greatest, tools are out there. And the other thing too is the loss of control argument that comes with the perception that BPOs can do it better, has kind of been turned upside down because of COVID. COVID has taught companies that remote operations management can be effective as well as cost beneficial. 10 years ago, get that remote agent stuff out of here, right? Many financial services companies, people that work with credit cards were like, nah, I don't want to do that because, it just doesn't seem safe. COVID threw that out the door. And so when you look at companies that are working remotely now, there's no difference in terms of how they manage those remote employees than if they worked with an outsourcer. So very much has that perception maintained its realness, and it's there, and it's an argument that you have to at least try to get people to see the other side of. But it's one that is a bit more digestible and palatable, for folks in this 2020 and beyond to understand that the outsourcing environment is one that carries a lot of benefits, both in terms of your agility, your ability to remove that burden of recruitment and things of that
Yeah.
nature from your internal center, as well as tap into the experience that they have by working with brands of similar context and content. And they can parlay some of that experience over to delivering upon your brand.
This is your captain speaking. I want to thank you for listening to CX Passport today. We've now reached our cruising altitude, so I'll turn that seatbelt sign off. While you're getting comfortable, hit that follow or subscribe button on your favorite podcast app so you'll never miss an episode. Love it if you'd tell a friend about CX Passport. Leave a review so others can discover the show as well. Now, sit back and enjoy the rest of the episode.
I want to stay a little bit in that latter space there, perhaps the experience part of it, and the experience of the brand itself, and what not the brand, but the experience of the BPO. And there is that sort of unique relationship that exists there, and because they're the ones that are delivering let's take a customer service particularly situation, that BPO is often closer to the customer than the brand itself, and so. You and I have previously talked about how frontline is so vital, just in general. Forget about BPO relationship, just the frontline is where experience happens. But especially in the context of the BPO, it's also a really good source of voice of the customer. So thinking of both voice of the customer and even beyond voice of the customer, how can BPOs help their clients, the brands, improve the brand's overall customer experience?
I've got some great examples, but one that just comes to mind is a technology that's been pretty popular and, more progressively used over the last 3-4 years, and that's speech analytics.
Right.
I had a client who was up and down, can't beat our internal center. We're the what, right? And we were able to put them with an outsourcer that had leveraged speech analytics within their business. Totally blew them away to see what customers, were saying on a call by call basis, not just on their own internal process, which was the old school. We record 3-4 calls per agent per month, score them, and we know we're good because our quality is good. Every single call is recorded in speech analytics. Every single call is mapped on a word chart. And now in real time, they can see what people are saying. You can click a button, drill down, to the call. And they now had immediate access to what was being said about their product, about their offer, about why somebody was canceling, and could then leverage that internally to deliver, better messaging in their marketing and better responses in their customer service experience. And that in turn, resulted in about a 15% increase in what they were scoring as their customer experience. So that one example with the BPO, just leveraging what I mentioned earlier, the technology that not all internal centers are able to keep abreast of. But as a service provider, if you want to be good, you have no choice but to stay on the leading edge of technology.
Yeah.
That's one of the, great examples that I can give is just, and for me, it's common because I see it all the time, speech analytics, but you'll be surprised when you're going from an in-house center operating for 20 years in-house and then going to a BPO, you get to really see what their internal philosophies have been and what they've, again, like I said, that internal tribal knowledge kind of obscures some of the progress because this is how we do it. It's how we always do it. It's fine. No one's complaining. Numbers are good, blah, blah, blah. But there's always something that can give you that little lift that's simple. Nothing changed. It's just we wrap some technology over your calls to say, hey, let me let you take a look at this and see if you can do something with it. And that word chart just really, just kind of turned them upside down.
It is. I too, having lived in this world for a while, am surprised when I find that speech analytics, for example, is not a particularly well known. But I imagine some of that too comes from there's been a dramatic improvement in that tool over even the last few years, and certainly if you look back even further than that. Because sentiment and the same word can mean a lot based off of the tone. And as those tools have improved, I want to ask you about tools a little bit here in the sense of tools are good for one purpose, right? They get you started, but it's the usage of those tools and how you use those. Have you seen examples where the BPOs have been particularly instrumental back to their clients in helping them improve their customer experience by even helping them do better with their tools? So, yay that you have a voice of the customer tool, but then here's how a mature organization uses it. It's almost that reverse consulting, if you will, the BPO guiding the client that way.
I've seen it in quarterly business reviews,
Okay.
where BPOs, obviously meet with their clients and they go through the deluge of what happened in a quarter and kind of break down some of the tools that they use and how they used it, and offer these types of recommendations to clients to identify ways in which they can, better score, better performance manage, their internal centers by looking at what they are doing, as a third party outsourcer and complement to their center. So I've seen how that has parlayed into, better experiences, with their internal centers as well.
Yeah.
It happens, quite regularly. And I think those that are astute when going into a BPO relationship, try to press that button, with the BPO to say, hey, this is what we're doing. We're going to be open to your suggestions. We know what we know because this is how we've done it. Haven't really gone off the cliff yet, but want to see what is new out there. And that's why we're hiring you to deliver upon what we're delivering on the way in which we are. But we need you to help us understand what's the next vision, what's the next level. And so it happens quite regularly.
I could see that, hey, BPO, I'm choosing you. And by the way, I'm expecting you not just to answer my calls, but rather teach me how to do things. All right, Fred, I can't wait any longer. I just simply can't. I don't have much more to frame this question up other than Morocco. That's on my dream travel list for sure. So I'm just going to kick back. I'm going to enjoy for a little bit and just tell me about that recent trip of yours.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. The impetus of the trip, by the way, was my wife and I, we're celebrating our 30-year anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
So,
all right.
It was a real exciting journey for us. And, like so many people, in 30 years, we checked the box on, the Caribbean and, all the other really nice locations that we've gone to on vacation. And for this one, we wanted to do something that was really unfamiliar.
Yeah.
Something that was really exotic. And Morocco, checked all the boxes. We spent 2 weeks. I just got back last week. We stayed in about 6 residences and, visited about 10 different cities. My favorite stop on the journey was we spent the night in the middle of the Sahara Desert for my wife's birthday, which was also during that week. We had we had to drive 8 hours all the way out to the Western Sahara. And then we had to take a 4x4 to the middle of the desert. And it was just absolutely incredible. The silence was interesting. Waking up in the morning, not even a bird chirping, nothing, absolutely silent. But it was incredibly gorgeous. We stayed. I don't know how they did it, but we stayed at a camp, and they're made for this, right? It was a desert resort, so the tent we stayed in was better than some really nice hotel rooms.
Hey.
So it was a bit of glamping.
Yeah, if I'm 8 hours out in the desert, I'm not looking to pop up my little Coleman tent. I want something nice.
Yeah. So we watched the sun down on top of a dune, and it was just an incredible experience. But the topography, that was something else that surprised me about Morocco. When you think of Morocco, like me, I thought arid desert, probably some really cool beaches and stuff like that. I did a little bit of research, but again, we wanted to make the experience somewhat unfamiliar. And as we started to travel to these different cities, they're completely forested areas of Morocco, which I had no idea.
Boy, that shows my ignorance too, Fred. Wow.
Yeah. They have snow during the wintertime in these mountains that we went to, the Atlas Mountains. There are incredible beaches. We went to one location. We went to what's it called? Eight bin Hadil. I can't remember the name, but that's where Game of Thrones was filmed.
Nice.
Troy, a bunch of movies. It's just incredible, and the food. I mean, it just never stopped coming. The way the Moroccans kind of serve everything seems to be like a 5-6 course, situation. But it was just an incredible incredible journey. I think it's a place that if you can get there,
Yeah.
got to spend at least a week. We spent 2 weeks, and it's still, as you mentioned, into a new city, a new area, it was much more interesting than the last.
Well, Fred, and for listeners, Fred and I are talking to each other in the U.S. Fred over on the East Coast, I in the Central USA, and so getting to Morocco is a bit of a hike, and it can. I'm sure that journey wore you out at times, Fred, and so I'd imagine that a first class lounge sounded nice to you from time to time. So how about you join me here in the first class lounge? We'll move quickly here and hopefully have a little bit of fun. What is a dream travel location from your past? And it might be what we just talked about.
I'd probably have to go with Antigua. It was the first real vacation my wife and I had after we got married. We were dirt poor, broke pretty much, both in school at the time when we got married. So we never really had an opportunity to go anywhere. And Antigua was special. We went to Sandals, and it was just a beautiful location.
Oh man, Antigua's great. What a great memory for you to have of that trip from your past. Now, looking forward, what is a dream travel location you've not been to yet?
Without hesitation, Greece. I am
Ah,
just floored with the historic value of it, the beauty of it, the waters, the archipelago of islands and everything. So it's definitely on my hit list. I'm going to get there, God willing, but Greece is definitely there.
yeah. Well, you need to somehow grow the BPO industry in Greece, and there you can have a reason to head over there, right? We'll maybe get that started for you.
There are a couple call centers in Cyprus. That's close. So maybe I could find a partner over there.
There you go. Let's leverage that idea. You talked about the food in Morocco, and that's one of the beauties of travel. What is a favorite thing of yours to eat?
Without a doubt. Natural mint chocolate chip ice cream. That's my thing. 100%. Anybody who knows me knows that's my thing. Mint chocolate chip, not the green stuff, the natural mint
Listen to you.
chocolate chip.
Don't give me that. And even I'm a Bluebell ice cream lover, but it's green, and so don't give me that green stuff. That's brilliant. Love it. Well, on the other side, Fred, what is a thing your parents forced you to eat, but you hated as a kid?
What else? Liver, man.
Liver? You were forced to eat that? I
I
hear
was
about it, but you had to eat it. Wow.
my parents are from the South, and some
Yeah.
kind of boondoggle urban legend said if you eat liver, it makes your body better. I don't know, but it just sucked. I hated it.
Fred, you and I are more similar than we realize. So, growing up in Texas, and having some Southern heritage as well, my mom loved liver and onions. And we'd go to Luby's, the cafeteria, and she'd always get liver and onions. And sometimes liver made it to the plate at the house. I'd forgotten about that in an earlier episode, but now I'm visualizing that liver. And it was somehow it got to where this is health food, that it's you're healthier because of it. The more I think about it, I'm like, isn't that the filter for poisons in the body? And we're just chugging in a bunch of the poison filter. But yeah, not
Yeah,
good stuff. Not good.
not for me.
All right, with all your global travels or even local travels, what is one travel item, not including your phone, you will not leave home without?
My wireless battery pack charger. That has been a lifesaver. So you're not acting like kind of a crackhead in the airport searching for an outlet.
Oh, Fred, we've seen those folks one around the airport. That is for sure. Now, I want to ask you about a question it's in my mind right now because it's a little interesting. When you and I talked, you'd mentioned a technology that I'd never heard of before, so it was completely brand new to me when we talked. Auto tune for accents. Now, since you and I talked, I've actually seen that technologies have some very highly visible moments of controversy. So
Yeah.
I'm actually fascinated both by just the simple pure technology. That fascinates me. But I'm actually interested in the very uncomfortable ethics of this tool. Tell me more about this tool and what are you seeing as its future, if it has one?
Yeah, I'm back and forth with it. And just so your audience understands, what we're talking about is a technology that I was exposed to at a recent, major call center event.
Mhm.
And I went through a demo of this technology. And what it does, it allows people, say in the demo that I had, I was talking to someone from India. And he had a distinguishable Indian accent. And as I was speaking to him, part of the demo, he said, I'm about to turn the technology on. Are you ready? And I said, yeah. He turned it on. The guy sounded like he was from Omaha.
Wow.
That distinguishable Indian accent just went flat. And then on the flip side, he said, would you like to hear the female voice? Click the button. That same person is now talking as a female,
Huh.
sounding like she's from Florida or whatever. And so the opportunity, within a contact center environment is that one of the biggest challenges, hurdles, concerns that people have with working offshore is the fact that as soon as you say hello, your customer can distinguish that someone is not calling from the US. So you wrap this
Okay.
technology around it, it makes them sound as if they're and very, very distinguishable. It doesn't sound, like they're talking through a computer.
Okay.
And so it screams of kind of, I hate to say it, it screams of deep fake. It really
Yeah.
does. And I know that's what because I've followed too, that's some of the controversy and, the future of the technology. I think it has one. I don't know yet how it's going to play out. I have heard from this provider, I won't say whom, but there are some big BPO companies out there that have allegedly signed on to a trial test to leverage its
Interesting.
efficacy. But this particular, those particular BPOs are very large. They're
Yeah,
some of the biggest
yeah.
ones out there. And so it'll be interesting to see. It could have a future, but I think ethically there's obviously concerns
Yeah.
about.
That's the part that has me a little like, again, I have to just say with full transparency, I'm fascinated by the technology that, heck, you could make this Texan sound like he's from Uzbekistan, or you could make me sound like a woman from Hong Kong, or take my voice and do something different with my accent.
Yeah.
But
blew me away. But
yeah, the technology is great.
Think about it. I'm kind of like, ooh,
yeah. And beyond the deep fake part, I actually hadn't thought of, right? That wasn't where my mind was going. There's just a bit of one of the things that, as a globalist that I am, and I think, Fred, you share that as well. My gosh, you just took a 30th to Morocco, right? Is a celebration of global cultures and being willing to embrace global cultures. And so I can understand the desire to have an auto-tune for a clarity perspective that, there are times that I talk that folks probably can't understand me. And so if I had an auto-tune for my accent clarity, that'd be one thing. Yeah. But to compress and eliminate cultural identity is where I start to get that oogie feeling of, that just doesn't feel right. And so that's it'll be interesting to see where this technology goes and what the ethics are behind it and how it evolves through that ethical and technological journey.
Yeah, I totally see where it's coming from a BPO service provider standpoint. You can leverage offshore agents at offshore cost and deliver a quality English, voice, at that rate, so I get it. I understand the interest in exploring its validity.
We'll see where it goes. It'll be intriguing, that's for sure.
It's slick as hell, I have to say.
That's the part.
I was like, and everybody else I was with. I mean, there was several executives I was with from a couple of large companies. Like, we got to try this.
Yeah. There's the coolness factor. You can't get away from the coolness factor.
Yeah, but I just don't know. I just don't know, man.
Well, let's actually close with a bit of a global aspect, right? Let's go back to understanding and appreciating the globe. As I see with the clock that we're relatively close on time here, so this is probably the last thing I will have a chance to talk about. But you and I met, as I mentioned in the intro, through Clinton Cohen in South Africa. And listeners, if you haven't heard his episode yet, Clinton and I get into the South African BPO industry. It's a really fantastic growth story and opportunity creation story for South Africa. So, Fred, I'd actually like your perspective on that as someone who has the global lens, both in South Africa and beyond it. Why is South Africa becoming such an attractive destination for BPO business these days?
I mean, South Africa is the offshore market that the U.S. clientele have been waiting on, for years. It's scalable. It has quality English. I think we talked about it before. Just think a mix between the British and Australian, kind of a cocktail there. Mm-hmm. It's a really cool quality English that we like to have on our answering machines, so to speak. And it's very pleasing to an American customer. They have strong proficiency in the BPO industry. It's not a new market. It's been around 20 plus years. Mm-hmm. But it's very new, I would say, in terms of its growth and aggressiveness in terms of U.S. customers going there in the last 5 years. A lot of it has to do with, the telecommunications infrastructure
Right.
that was left behind from the World Cup that is now, very
Oh,
inexpensive. That was a barrier before.
okay.
It was always a low arbitrage, labor arbitrage market,
Mhm.
but the cost of getting over there negated the value. Now it competes head to head with India, Philippines, Mexico, those low cost markets. And more importantly, it aligns well with the US market, business practices, overall social philosophy. The infrastructure is incredible. I had a chance to go there just before the pandemic with a group of BPO executives and clients. And that's actually where I met Clinton. And subsequently, very shortly thereafter, within a year, I placed some business there, which is now more than double,
Oh, wow.
with Clinton's organization, actually. And so I see the real value of South Africa, not just as a BPO destination, but, really, future growth in South Africa. I mean, I think it was named the number one offshore destination 2 years in a row now. And I've had really great experience, and I'll continue to advocate, for South Africa.
Sounds like it. And what I like about both, as you're describing the business aspect of it, not to retread what Clinton's episode talked about, is there's also sort of that social growth aspect as well, providing opportunities where there weren't opportunities before, and just seeing that success story there. It makes me, I've not had the chance to go there. Members of my family had the opportunity. I haven't. I got to get there. Clinton's already promised to take me to a place that'll give me the best, if I get this right, the Boer Wars roll or some great sausage or something that I need to go eat. And I'm already salivating thinking about this good sandwich that he's talked about. I'm looking forward to it. Well, Fred, it's been great talking with you. We are out of time, which stinks. I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about this. I mean, how could I not want to talk to the BPO Whisperer even longer? So it has been delightful. If folks wanted to get to know more about you, more about your approach and relationships with matching brands and BPOs, or even explore a match search as well, how could they get in touch with you?
I walk through the LinkedIn door every morning and kind of stay in that door most of the day. So LinkedIn would be a good first step. My email is fred at the call center source, all one word. And that is also my website, www.thecallcentersource.com.
Excellent. Well, I will get all of that in the show notes. And so listeners, just scroll down. It's right there for you. And get to know Fred, get to know more about the call center source. Fred, again, thank you so much for talking with me today. Thank you for making me jealous, as many guests do, about your amazing trip. I do. Morocco's got to be in my very near term of a trip coming up. It sounds absolutely delightful. Thank you for sharing your wisdom around the BPO world and closing us out with South Africa as well. It's been great. I really enjoyed it, Fred. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, Rick.
Thanks for joining us this week on CX Passport. Make sure to visit our website, cxpassport.com, where you can hit subscribe so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, you can check out the rest of the EX for CX website. If you're looking to get real about customer experience, EX for CX is available to help you increase revenue by starting to listen to your customers and create great experiences for every customer, every time. Thanks for listening to CX Passport, and be sure to tune in for our next episode. Until next time, I'm Rick Denton, and I believe the best meals are served outside and require a passport.